We will start with functions. Syntax is def, def for define. It is used to define functions, and then the function name, whatever you choose, and then you give parameters, param1, param2, param3. You can have optional values for parameters. You can say that if these parameters are not provided, please use some default value for them. Okay, so that's it. Then you close it and a colon. The colon is there, and then when you press enter, then you can have multiple statements. Right? So that is the syntax of the function, and some function don't return anything; they just do the work, and that's it. But some functions tend to return a computed value. So you can say return some value. Maybe you return param3 multiplied by 100. Maybe it makes sense. And when you execute this, nothing really happens. It just creates a function and stores it in symbol table. That a function name called this name is associated with a function object who look like this. Interestingly, in Python, functions are objects. What that means is that you can store the function in a variable, you can pass it to a function, you can return from a function. Functions are first class objects. Let me just run it. Nothing happened. Something will happen if I call function name. Okay, if I say function, if I call this function, let's say 10, 20. Now the function runs, it does something and it returned also something. So I can really capture that also. I can say result equal to this. So I can capture it in a variable and I can do further thing on that. So that's a function. It can return things and it's optional. If you don't return it, let's say you say hash, and if I run it, then you will see that the return is none. So now let's look at some simple function. This is a very simple function display which takes no argument, just prints two strings hello world. When you define it, nothing happens, and when you execute it, this code gets executed. The code gets executed when you call the function, not when you define the function. And now this display takes parameters. It takes details of a person and it prints it. I'm now about to run this cell. It displayed it nicely. Even on this little function, there are two concepts behind it. You can call it in a variety of ways. You can call it like this. You can say display name equal to Ram, age equal to 12, country equal to India. And this works. So what is this syntax name equal to this? This is called keyword argument. Keyword in the sense that they have a key and value. You give as a keyword the parameter name, whatever you want to pass, and you give the value. And this way of passing is called positional arguments. Mohan is associated with name by virtue of the position. It was the first one. 19 is associated with age by virtue of the position, second one, and so on. So these are positional argument. For them, the position associated the value with the parameter. And these are keyword arguments. We specify the keyword. With keyword arguments, you can enjoy certain flexibilities. You can say that I will give them in a different order, something like this. So age and country and name, none of them are in their right position. But because I'm saying that age is 12, so this age will get connected with this parameter. And you can visualize that these keyword arguments are very close to dictionary because they are name value pairs. And we will see that they are indeed, even at a code level, very close to dictionary. So what I can do is I can say display name is Mohit, country is India, age is 18. That works fine. So I can have both. Only constraint is positional should come before the keyword. So let's say we give Mohit name after age. So even we can make out that now how does it relate this Mohit with name? It cannot relate. So this Mohit it cannot relate, so it will give an error, and it will say positional argument follows keyword. That kind of reaffirms that positional must come before keyword. That is one constraint. Otherwise, you can have few positional. Maybe there were 8 parameters. You gave 3 or 4 as positional, and the other in a random order you gave. You cannot give a parameter twice. So let's say you are doing this, which was perfect, but then you said name equal to Ram. So that's a problem. You have given name via the keyword argument method also, and you have given name via the positional also. So that will be wrong things. So it will say got multiple values. This can also happen if you give it the key 2 times. If you say name equal to Mohit and name equal keyword argument repeated. So keyword itself was repeated, or keyword was not repeated, but keyword was applying value of a parameter which was given via the positional manner. I may be using these 2 terms, parameter and argument. If you see the formal text, these are called parameters, the names which are defined in the function. And what you actually pass, these are like arguments. So we call them keyword argument, not keyword parameter. But that distinction, I think, normally is not maintained. Normally, argument and parameter can be used interchangeably. It's coming to default parameters, having a default parameter. So if this is the function and if I just call it the very natural way without using the default value, maybe I will say some other thing, it works, right? That will work anyway. And now you can call it by omitting the default value. So we can try that. Let's say we give Ram age and we omit the country. And so now the country takes that default value. This default is a heavily used thing in so many library functions and packages. Even a simple function print has so many default parameters, which are defaulted to very reasonable values. We want to create a default value another way. We want a default for age also. You can say display, and it will even the multiple things are defaulted. But what I'm trying to do is I'm defaulting age, but I'm not defaulting country. It says non-default argument follows default argument. So if somebody says Ram and 20, so one really doesn't know is this 20 this value or is this 20 the marks, right? Age defaulted and marks are 20 or what, right? So we never know. So in that sense, the default arguments are always at the end because we can understand that default arguments, the intent is that they can be omitted. If they can be omitted, you cannot omit from the middle and expect another parameter to be related well. Okay, now display is defined there, and now I am doing this. So what's happening is name is provided, age is provided, country is not provided, which was okay because it's a default thing, but a unknown parameter was provided. So if you do that, then also you get an error because it says I don't recognize it. There is a special syntax called KW args. KW is for keyword. So we will see that KW args allows to take arbitrary argument name. Let's now think of functions which take arbitrary number of arguments. So for example, you want to have a function mysum and you want to call it like this, mysum 10, 20, 30, or mysum 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. It can take arbitrary number of arguments. We start writing a function, mysum. Now, when you have to take multiple number of arguments, then they have no name, right? So then you call them star args. I will just print it. So now what will happen is that these 1, 2, 3, 4 will be put in a tuple and args will become that tuple. So let's run it. That's a tuple. You can have a function like this. You have some positional arguments, but remaining you want to capture like this. Say I give the initial value as 100. So this 100 came to this parameter initial, And the remaining things, 1, 2, 3, 4, they were captured by this. That works fine, and I can test it a bit more. My sum with just two parameters, my sum with just one parameter, the code, my sum with no parameter, zero parameter, and even that works. So just like star args captures all the positional arguments which are not yet captured, blue args captures all the keyword arguments which are not yet captured. So let's say this function is defined and now I call it. And it's fine, and at this moment args is empty and args is empty. Let me pass a little more. In the tuple I should get 40, 50 because that's not captured. And these keyword arguments I should get. And that's what I get. How do I handle it? I have passed it and it's a dictionary. Then what do I do? You can write some code. If we do like items, then this is like a list of tuples and every tuple is key value. So if that is the case, then you can write this for k comma v in list of tuples. You can actually visualize tuple unpacking happening at every step of the for. This code is just printing it, but you can do anything which you want. Let's say this function is there. It takes name, age, country, and it prints it. So I have a dictionary object. This dictionary object is really having the values of these parameters, name, age, country. What I want is that these key value pairs become the keyword argument. So what I can simply do is I can say display star D1. It's like saying that convert this dictionary into a keyword argument name value pairs. So it will be called that way. In fact, it holds for tuples also. Let's say I have a simple function. I have a display. Now my trouble is I have a tuple 5, 6 and I want 5, 6 to be used as the parameter. I want this tuple to be kind of unpacked and passed to display. You can do display star even. If I do that star even, and then this code works fine. So you might see this syntax also, that this comes extremely handy when a function has received multiple arguments and it wants to call another function which wants to again process them. Of course, you can combine them. Let's say I have a def display A, B, C, D, E, and I will just print A, B, C, D, E. I have a tuple for A, B, and I have some dictionary. Let me pass star D1, star D1. Yeah, it worked. So you did tuple unpacking and it unpacked 1020 there. Then you did the dictionary unpacking and it related hello by nice with CDE.